So here are the steps for helping you to make the change. The first step is setting your goal and keeping it in your awareness. Determining what that keystone goal is. And it must be stated in the positive, because you can't work toward a negative. You have to have something that you want to work toward, not something that you want to avoid. So for instance, you wouldn't say, I want to stop smoking, because every time you say, I want to stop smoking, I want to stop smoking, then what happens is it puts your attention on smoking. But if you say, and this sounds like just a small word difference, I want to be a non-smoker, or I want to be healthier and have better lungs, those could be keystone goals that other behaviors related to smoking can then be brought along as you move toward that keystone goal. Secondly, healthy habit substitution. Our brains do not tolerate a vacuum in behavior or thought. That is, you can't just have nothing there in place of something that was there. So telling yourself not to do something simply puts your attention, as I said, puts your attention on the behavior and increases the desire for it. Something has to replace it. So an example would be, if you decided that you didn't want to bite your nails anymore, you might, in place of saying, I don't want to bite my nails, you would say, I can take a few deep breaths whenever I get nervous or bored, because nail biting is usually a response to either boredom or stress. So if you put something else in there that you can do, a healthy habit substitution, you're more likely to meet your goal of stopping the nail biting. Changing your routine, avoiding triggers is another way of changing your habits. Triggers can be very sneaky. You may not even realize that a behavior habit or thought habit is being triggered because it's just part of what you consider to be normal, the average daily activity. So again, let's going back to the smoking example. When I was in practice and I had people come in who said they wanted to stop smoking, one of the things that I asked them was, how do you know when to smoke? And they would look at me like, what? Know when to smoke? Well, I just smoke. And I said, well, yes, but you don't smoke 24 hours a day. So how do you know when to smoke and when not to smoke? So they would think about that a little bit, and then they would come up with very accurate triggers that told them when to smoke. So they might say, oh, when I get up in the morning and I pour my first cup of coffee, that's when I know to light up a cigarette. Or when I'm on the phone for a while. Or when I take my break at work. So they really did know what told them when to smoke. So those were triggers then that they could begin to take charge of. So changing routines was one way of doing that. So perhaps getting up in the morning and pouring that cup of coffee, but rather than sitting down and lighting up the cigarette and reading the paper or listening to the news, you pour the cup of coffee and maybe go for a walk, go out on the porch, just find something else that you did as an alternative routine that didn't include the smoking. That helps reduce the power of that trigger. Again, an interesting story on this. When I had my practice in Ohio, my partner Michael had been a pipe smoker for years, and then pipe smoking kind of, got out of popularity, and he changed to cigarettes. But he kept saying, I really need to stop smoking, I really need to stop smoking, but he didn't want to stop smoking, so it was very difficult for him. So finally one year he decided, okay, I'm going to do this. And I think he went for hypnosis or something for smoking. And he had been able to be abstinent from smoking for, months, many months. And it was in the summer, and he went on a fishing trip with his father and a group of friends that his father went with every year. They had a regular thing that they did, went to Canada, got a boat, went out on the lake, had a good time. And one of the things that they did was once they got out there, they all lit up a big cigar, which Michael did. He didn't even think about it. He didn't even say, oh gosh, I'm smoking. It didn't fit with, I'm smoking a cigarette. And on his way home, he bought a pack of cigarettes because that trigger had set off that whole pattern that was starting to get weaker, but really hadn't gone away. And these patterns that are well established don't necessarily go away entirely. They weaken, and whatever you're putting in to replace them can get stronger. But it's the triggers that sneak up on us and reactivate them when we don't expect it. Planning for stress reactions, because stress is one of the biggest triggers. Stress is one of the most powerful ways in which we get back into behavioral habits that we've chosen not to do or not to have. So it's important when you are setting up your keystone goal to make a plan ahead of time for how you're going to handle stress differently when it pops up. And it will pop up. Just look around us right now. Why is stress so powerful as a trigger? Well, when we're stressed, our brain goes into survival mode. The fight or flight mechanism is activated. Certain habits that have a good track record for helping us feel better in the moment get activated with it. Things like stress eating, or smoking, or drinking too much, or biting our nails, not to mention just a few of them. They happen automatically, and we don't even realize that they've returned oftentimes. They just kind of ease back into our life, and then they stay there after the stressor's gone. Right now is a good time to be aware of this, because many of our habits, particularly our good habits, are being set aside because we're out of our regular routine that helps us to maintain them. With the coronavirus crisis, we are in what is called a long-term stressor. Building routines back into our daily life can help us to cope and not come out of this with more problems than we went into it with. Using the scheduled exercise classes that are offered by Leslie, watching what we eat, and particularly the food that we keep in our house, taking time to do intentional relaxation, giving time for prayer or meditation, and setting times to do daily tasks helps us to keep the stress from being a trigger for things that we'll wish later on we weren't doing again. Next, measuring progress by habit change and keystone goals. Generally, for instance, when somebody's trying to lose weight, they obsess on how many pounds they've lost. And that can be very discouraging because the weight kind of goes up and down. And once you get discouraged, sometimes you just give up altogether. So let's say as part of your health program, you've decided to exercise. Okay, so you need to exercise, but you hate to exercise. That's true for a lot of people. But could you walk for 5 minutes or get on a treadmill for 5 minutes? And usually the answer is going to be yes. Then do just 5 minutes a day. So it's not going to take very much time. You don't even have to change your clothes. You might have to put on good shoes. That would be good. If you feel you can do a little bit more as you go, which is likely to happen, after a while you'll go, oh, gee, the 5 minutes is up already. I could do a minute or two more. But only add a couple minutes at a time. So let's say you get up one day and you go, oh, I'm really tired, or I just don't want to exercise today. Can you still do 5 minutes? Probably. So do your 5 minutes anyways, because doing some exercise is better than doing no exercise. And the goal here really is to maintain the habit, not the amount of exercise you're doing, but the habit of exercising. And that will just bring along a better program of exercise, of being able to exercise more, of being able to get in shape so that you can in turn exercise more effectively. So think about that. Doing a little of something that is good for you is better than doing none of it. If you fall off the wagon, so to speak, return to the habit that you want to maintain, and don't write off the day. This is a big human habit. Okay, I didn't exercise this morning, so today's shot, I'll have to start again some other time. Well, if you had planned to exercise today and you didn't do it this morning, then do it sometime later today. Again, 5 minutes is better than no minutes. The same thing with eating. If you go off your diet or off your food plan, rather than saying, well, I've gone off, I might as well just eat what I want for the rest of the day or the rest of the week or the rest of the month, whatever comes up in your head. Back up a minute, take a breath and say, oh no, I can put that back into gear now. I don't have to wait till tomorrow. I can decide what I'm going to eat later today and be back on track. So keep yourself focused on that keystone goal rather than just these smaller incidences that can undermine you. Thought habits. We've talked mostly about behavior habits, and the examples I've given you are behavioral. But thoughts work the same way that our behavior habits do. Our thoughts get stuck in our head because we repeat them over and over again. And some of those thoughts are good, and some of those thoughts are detrimental to us. So for instance, in the crisis that we're facing now, if each day you get up and you start watching the news and you're going, oh no, this is awful, I'm going to end up getting sick and dying, or my family's going to get affected, or I'm going to be a financial disaster. Every time you repeat that over and over again, the more set in your brain that thought pattern becomes. And that in turn triggers your stress response. So instead of getting up and doing that, some of the things that are more useful would be, for instance, a gratitude list, saying, what are the good things that I have? How am I doing right now? Am I sick? No, I'm not sick. I don't have the coronavirus. Actually, today is a pretty good day. I can do this thing, I can do that thing, so that your mind doesn't keep practicing a negative thought. This occurs also for any other kind of negativity that you get stuck in. And it's true that many of our strongest habit ways of thinking got put in there a very, very long time ago, and maybe from specific incidences where negative events occur. And what you need to do there is to recognize them, listen for them. Listen for the automatic negative thoughts that pop up, and when you hear them, counter them. Again, substitution. You can't just say, I'm not going to think that way anymore. You've got to give your brain something else to focus on. Many of our thoughts get downloaded into our system, and then they just feel like they are stuck in there. But we can become more aware of when they pop up, and we can actually, over time, make changes in them. But remember, it's repetition that put them there, and it's repetition of something else that competes with them. Now, let's consider something called habits beyond habits. There are habits that are outside what we would call the range of normal behaviors and fall into the category of mental health disorders. People that have obsessive-compulsive disorder, compulsive gambling, hoarding, trichotillomania. Oh, I bet you've all heard of that one, trichotillomania. That's obsessive pulling your hair out. And when people have this, they pull their hair out until they're bald. Compulsive picking, that's another one where people pick at their skin compulsively until they have all kinds of scarring. And then pica is another one, which is a compulsion of eating things that you shouldn't eat. I don't just mean high calories, eating things like aluminum foil. I once had a client who ate cremora. powdered creamer for coffee. She'd eat almost a whole can of it a day. That's a type of pica. So all of these are mental health disorders. They represent something in the brain that is not functioning properly, and they are very treatable with medication and behavioral therapy. Now, I do have to tell you a funny story about this, though. Last Monday, I got a call from a former client of mine who has OCD. Some of my OCD clients over the years had a very good sense of humor about their condition, and this gal did. She actually called to make sure that I was taking enough vitamin D during the coronavirus. She's a bit of a vitamin and health nut. But part of her OCD was hand washing and germ phobia. So her traditional day was probably to wash her hands 15 to 20 times, especially if she went out. She also had a long history of distancing herself from people. She would not sit in a crowd of people. She tried not to go to the store when it was very crowded. Does that all sound familiar? So she was laughing when we talked on Monday. She said, "Gosh, you know, the whole rest of the world has finally caught up with me." She said, "Now I don't feel like I'm so odd." We had a very good laugh. So remember, it wasn't the top of the iceberg that sunk the Titanic. It was the bottom. And it's more often the habits we are not conscious of that get us in trouble and cause us the most grief. So be well, be calm, and laugh when you can.